Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Max. I'm your host. This is Coffee. Today I'm going to be trying a new edition of Coffee with Max. Very proud of the name. It's called Coffee with Max Unfiltered. I know, it's super funny. So for the Unfiltered edition, this will be all the way through, no edits, no stops, so I'm going to keep things quick, succinct, to the point. Today I'm talking about practicing, healthy practice methods, efficient practicing, and when you should stop practicing. So, there's two schools of thought on this. One side says practice as much as possible all the time, because if you don't, one day you'll meet somebody who has been practicing all the time and they will be better than you. They'll win. The other school of thought says practice when it feels good and practice the right things. I'm on this side. I always lean towards this side because for me, it's more important to enjoy what I'm doing than to get better at something. So if somebody told me that I could be the best drummer in the world, but I have to go through 10 years of pain and suffering, I wouldn't do it because that's 10 years of my life. And I love drumming. I will always get better at drumming. I'll always practice, but I refuse to go through pain every day of my life to play. And that sounds really harsh. I'm not saying that practice is always painful. I'm saying that if you're not enjoying your practice, you're doing yourself a disservice because you should be enjoying the process too. So what are some ways you can enjoy the process? Well, first things first, I always think of it as leaving yourself wanting more, leaving yourself room for wanting more. And that means if you just finished a practice session and you have one more thing that you want to work on for like 15 minutes, you're feeling really good about your session, you just have this last thing. I'm trying to remember this. This is a friend of mine gave me this phrase. It's 2 more, skip the last. And that's from biking. He's a mountain biker. And if you're going to do, it's always on the last run that you hurt yourself as a mountain biker, which makes sense, right? You wouldn't keep going. But his phrase is, okay, we're going to do 2 more and skip the last, which means that I never do the last run. And I love that for practice. You have to keep that with you for practice. I love that. Because if you always leave yourself wanting a little bit more, every time you go down to practice, go to the woodshed, sit down at your instrument, you're going to love what you're doing. You're going to be excited for what the day has in store for you. So leave yourself a little bit of room. Second thing is always make sure that you're practicing with a goal in mind and that you're practicing efficiently. So next time you sit down to practice, don't play a single note until you have a goal in mind. And that can be, okay, after 1 hour of practice, I'm going to feel like I understand this genre of music better. It could be listening practice. That's great practice. After 15 minutes, I want to feel like I can play this complicated chord progression fluidly. Slow it down for 15 minutes. Go through it a bunch of times. You'll feel really comfortable with it. But don't practice without a goal in mind because otherwise you're just playing. Another rule is your practice, if somebody's listening outside to you practice and it sounds good, you're not practicing, you're playing. And there is a time and a place for playing and practicing playing, but if you're trying to get better at a skill, practice, which means that what you're playing should sound bad because you're working on something. You're not playing something that you're proficient in. So, one other thing to keep in mind is how often you practice makes a huge difference in your success. So I think it is really important to be consistent. I always relate my music practice and process back to weightlifting because I love going to the gym, I love lifting weights, and there's a lot of crossover there. And in weights, you maybe more than one, but you always have one rest day, and the rest day is usually on Sunday. That's just how it works out. And for practicing for music, I love making my rest day on Sunday, and that means I don't touch an instrument. I don't pick up a pair of drumsticks. I don't play anything. I'll listen to music, only enjoy stuff, relax, but I do not let myself practice, because that means on Monday I've gathered all these ideas of things that I want to play, things I want to practice, and I have stuff to work on. And it just gives you a break in the day. You can't grow without rest. I think that's the biggest thing here, is you need to give yourself a break if you want to get better. You can't only train, you have to take breaks. So that's important. Also, be careful of burning out. I have lots of thoughts on burning out in music. If you feel like you're losing your excitement for what you're doing for a couple days in a row, it's just not doing it for you, take a longer break. Take a week off. It's okay. It's okay to not practice for a week. And I wish they had been more clear about that in music school. I wish they were telling people that today, because it really is okay. And some of my best ideas come after that 7-day break, or however long you need. 1 day, 2 days, whatever. So be really careful about that. Don't burn out. It's not worth it. Anyway, there are some great tips for practicing. I hope this is helpful. Please, if you have any questions or comments, concerns, opinions, critiques, song suggestions, leave them in the comments. Thank you for subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching the first edition of Coffee with Max Unfiltered.